We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Welcome to the RedAssPodcast, your home for Aggie sports, barbecue, music, and much more. And now your hosts, Rob White and Roy May.
Howdy guys, welcome back to the RedAss Podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 20th, and we are through the entire college national football finals. Everything is done. I'm Rob White, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2014.
Yeah, Roy May fighting Texas Aggie class 2015. Yeah, it's all done and dusted, man. Put another one in the books.
Yep, another college football season in the books. Second year of the expanded playoff, and frankly, looking back on that playoff, pretty exciting outcome, I think. Pretty cool outcome, to say the least, with Indiana winning the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got, their first one, right?
Yeah.
And their first Big Ten championship, I think, since 1945.
Long time since their last Big Ten title. This was a crazy stat somebody brought up. So apparently, like, bowl games won. Coming into this season, they had won 3 bowl games total in their history. They won 3 this year because of the new format. So
yeah, they're like the losingest program in college football won a national championship. Like it's an amazing story. It goes to show you how much the landscape of college football has changed. That a school is able to do that now between the transfer portal and NIL. You've got Mark Cuban, wanting to give $30 million to Indiana football. So it's a testament to really what's going on right now in college football. And it shows that if you get the right coach and you get the right players, it's not necessarily just all about stars either. Because if you look at the stars that were on, the star rating really of those players that were on it, and they were interviewing one of the players, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, none of the other programs wanted us, so we play with that chip on our shoulder because it's not necessarily, and he's not trying to sit there and down talk Indiana, obviously, because they're doing so well.
Right.
But you get players that want to play, they have that chip on their shoulder, and then Cignetti, he's got a system, he's got a way that he runs his program, and this is one of those culture over ratings kind of teams.
Well, and he's one of
not all
those.
5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that went in, and you mentioned that, and that was a really important, I think, talking point to consider. Indiana football very much was kind of the island of misfit toys over the last couple of seasons, right? A bunch of people that nobody wanted. They ended up going there. I mean, we're talking a bunch of 3-star, like non-blue chip recruits. These are not big profile guys by any means. And you go in there, and with the right coaching system, with the right development, you accomplish something in 2 years, which has never been done at the major level in college football. Win a national title, undefeated, 16-0, cruising, did their job. Really impressive.
Well, I think you look at it, this is like officially putting college football on notice. Indiana winning this, it just basically said you don't have to wear, you don't have to have Alabama on your chest. You don't have to have Ohio State on your chest. You have to run a good program and have people that are all bought in and everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction. And that's exactly what you saw at Indiana. Now, I mean, you kind of hit gold with Mendoza, obviously. Dude wins a Heisman.
Yeah. And looked at certainly in the championship game.
Yeah, his stats weren't eye-popping, but yeah, he just, he did what a great quarterback does, is especially that, the touchdown run that he had. That was just all heart, man. I mean, that was he was bouncing off dudes, and that's probably one of the better plays in the history of college football when you're able to sit back and look at it. I mean, he just decided to put the team on his back when it had to be done. I mean, he didn't even throw for 200 yards. I think he threw for like 186 or 100, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went for 186 and he didn't throw any touchdowns. It's just he's so impressive to watch, and he's obviously just a dude of such high character. So it's been fun kind of getting to know him because Indiana was going through the season undefeated, and you're like, yeah, but it's Indiana, their schedule isn't great. And then the Penn State was supposed to be a big game, and Penn State ended up sucking this year. And so I don't think anybody outside of Indiana really was truly like locked in and watching Indiana. So you get to know some of these players, like big play Becker, and it's such a great story. Um, and Cignetti, I mean, he just runs a tight ship, man. I think that's really what it comes down to is his personality is obviously was on display, and everybody watching the playoffs got to see it more and more because nobody watched probably if you're not a Big Ten guy and you're not an Indiana guy, you weren't watching Indiana play football this year, and you maybe didn't even watch the Big Ten championship. But as you're watching the playoffs, you got to see what this team really is all about, what's how Cignetti operates, which is. Man, he just kind of comes off as a jerk. But it's just that's how he runs it, man. And you can tell that there's a culture there, and you can tell everybody's bought in. And that's one of those things where you look at it and you go, man, it's and it's never gonna be apples to apples, obviously, but you've got to really feel confident about what Mike Elko is building at Texas A&M because you've just seen it happen. Like what if Indiana can do it, anybody can do it. And what we're seeing is they were able to do it without, crushing the portal and crushing high school. Well, I guess they crushed the portal. We just didn't know it at the time.
Sure.
And and not, they're not a top 3, top 5, top 10 high school recruiting school on a regular basis. But he's able to come in, instill his culture, and get full buy-in from the entire, like just the whole roster basically buying in. I'm sure there's some guys will transfer out, and I get it, but I mean, people want playing time. That's just the truth. That's the truth of the situation, these days in college football. But just to see them as a team, and they were so complete. And we were talking about this last week after the fan show, and 2019 LSU obviously is one of the best teams, if not the best team you ever seen. 01 Miami was basically full of NFL stars.
Yeah.
We brought up 95 Nebraska.
Yeah.
But you look at this and you're like, man, 2026 Indiana, they went undefeated. Can we talk about them in that manner? Because and the point got brought up was, we were talking about, we didn't know what the results were going to be, obviously, but I thought Indiana was going to kind of run away with the game, and there were points within the game I still thought Indiana was going to kind of start to pull away. So kudos to Miami. I thought they played their butts off. I thought the officiating was weird. The first half they were basically just letting them play backyard brawl football. And then the second half, they started kind of calling stuff that they weren't. So that makes it difficult. But yeah, it's look at their whole body of work.
Yeah.
Is this one of the better teams we've seen? I mean, they had a Heisman Trophy winner on top of it. And generally, it was always when you got the Heisman, your postseason, you ended up donking it, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
The Heisman was on one of the teams playing for the national championship, and then they go out and have a terrible bowl game. It was really weird. Like Johnny's kind of the outlier in that, playing
Sure.
Oklahoma. But they had a Heisman. They went undefeated.
Well, and it's interesting. You mentioned the heart play that Mendoza made, and you know what it reminded me of? Watching Friday Night Lights, the final play by Mike Winchell, just shedding blockers, doing everything he possibly could to get to the end zone, fighting for it. And I think that is so reminiscent not only of his character, but I do think of what Curt Cignetti has built over there at Indiana. You have seen that this team just continually drives their feet. They're hungry for more. They're never satisfied. And I think a lot of that goes back to what you saw really at the peak of what Nick Saban's era was, which, Kirk being in that coaching tree makes a lot of sense because I feel like he, more than a lot of the other coaches in the coaching tree, really understood what that Saban model looked like in terms of how to run a team and run it well. And that really resembled itself out there on the field. I have a hard time obviously looking at and saying, is that team going to be full of NFL talent like you saw maybe out of Miami or what you saw out of Nebraska? But the fact of the matter is that team put together one of the, if not the greatest college football campaigns ever, going through a very difficult road to get to where they needed to be and made it look like chump change, which is impressive. Yeah.
They made Oregon look like they didn't belong in the playoffs at all.
And mind you, that same Oregon team shut out what a lot of people were calling was going to be a very, very dangerous Texas Tech team. So that's a really interesting dynamic that took place over the course of this playoff. And, of course, looking back at Miami and their run, impressive, a lot of comebacks. a lot of really gritty wins, and really had a shot in this game late with a chance to win it. But of course, Carson Beck does what he does in a lot of clutch situations, which is throw errant passes. And unfortunately, that ended poorly for Miami. But as much as credit as I do want to give Miami, my goodness gracious, trying to throw punches at players after the end of the game, not exactly the greatest look. But then again, maybe reminiscent of what we've understood Miami's football program to be historically.
Well, yeah, that's back in the day, the U. I mean, attitude was everything.
Right.
Yeah, Miami just kind of they flex you bring that up, and it kind of does remind me, of Miami way back in the day in their heyday, and they were brutal. They beat you by 30, but they'd have 120 yards in penalties.
Yeah.
And not sloppy, just I don't know how to put it. Just nasty, man. Like played with an attitude and didn't care about the rules kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just dirty to an extent. And they embraced it.
Yeah.
And so I think you saw some of that throughout Miami's run through the playoffs. But Miami is fine with that. Like, that's the culture that when they were winning, they were just the big bad dudes on the street that would bully you around. And again, 120, 130 yards in personal fouls, pretty much. Like, we're not talking about ticky-tack offsides. No. You're racking up personal fouls. So that's an attitude that program has embraced for a long time. And I think Mario Cristobal finally has some dudes to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to lose a lot to the draft.
Yeah, no question.
But I think Cristobal's a good coach, which is crazy because I feel like just a couple of years ago we were talking about him being on the hot seat,
Yeah. And that's a lot of that dynamic goes back to what we've seen with this culture shift in college football as far as NIL opportunity. Miami became a very hot place to potentially go, right? I mean, why wouldn't you want to go there and get paid to go play football there if the opportunity presents itself?
Miami,
right?
That's why I'm shocked Arizona State isn't one of the best football programs every year, year in, year out with their weather. Like
with their weather and their
co-eds.
So I have to stress because my father went to school there. That's his alum, and he was a cheerleader. He was a cheerleader at Arizona State. So let me tell you something. He knew a lot of stories and would tell stories about how he really loved going to summer classes because girls would show up to class in their bikinis. In the 80s, they didn't care. Like that's Arizona State culture, and that I'm from what I've gathered, that's not too far off what they have continued to be as a program. So I mean, seeing places like that, places like USC, like destination locations, you could see those places potentially growing as potential destination spots, as well as places that have money to back up their NIL, like what you're seeing at Texas Tech, what you're seeing here, what you're seeing across a lot of different places.
Yeah, but I think that goes both ways too, because in today's, in the NIL era, like it's just like financing or investing 101. Like you don't throw money after, you don't throw good money after bad money, right?
Right.
And you're gonna have not every school has 5 or 6 donors who can just write checks for the whole program, right? Mm-hmm. And if they do, we've got the Bucky's guy, right? What did he do? He gave money for education, right? Yeah. It's like. So you run into a ton of that. I don't think anybody knew Mark Cuban went to Indiana before Indiana got good.
Frankly, I didn't. I was like, wait a minute, Indiana guy?
Yeah, I didn't. But you look at these programs like USC. Well, they don't have the NIL funds because they're not winning. So their alumni that have the money don't want to give because they're not winning. So it's a weird cycle where but Indiana just completely bucks all the trends because I would love to see their NIL budget. Like if I were Kurt Signetti, I would put that out and brag. Like, bro, we paid $4.3 million for our entire roster. Well, and look what we did.
Well, and I think it's funny if you look at the dichotomy in particular between Indiana and Oregon. Let's take a look at those two programs for a quick second. Indiana, who has been a perpetual bottom tier Big Ten, if not just college football team across decades and decades and decades of their program. Oregon has always kind of been on the cusp, thrown so much money from Nike into this to try to build them up and grow them. And yet, within 2 years of Indiana seriously focusing on, hey, let's see what we can do in football, They turn around and make it happen in 2 seasons. How's that must feel for Phil Knight and the folks over at Nike in Oregon, man?
Yeah, and Signetti's what, 64, so he's just going to retire at Indiana. He's basically given himself a lifetime contract. He doesn't have to. You don't have to go anywhere to do anything to prove anything, unless he's literally just chasing the bag.
Which I don't think he would.
I just, yeah, I mean, at 64, you figure what, maybe he's got 5 years left.
Yeah,
Coach,
maybe.
give or take. He doesn't look 64. I'll give him that.
No.
But like, imagine if he were 40 or 45.
Oh
man.
my God. Yeah. And
Like,
he's
the
got
money
20 more
certain-
years ahead of him.
The money certain programs would be throwing at him would be absolutely through the roof.
Yeah.
So I think, he's really proof that in this NIL era, you can't, I mean, look at Texas Tech, look at Oregon. You can't buy championships. The head man still matters. Absolutely. And it's the head man matters because it's how he runs the program. And the program has, like, it's just, I always go back, I use these words a million times with Elko's culture and grit, right? Those are the two things that feel like non-negotiables inside Bright. And it looks like those are non-negotiables, in Bloomington. This just the way the team plays on both sides of the ball. When you listen to them in interviews, it's a whole culture thing. And however Signetti has implemented his culture, obviously it works because he didn't need to go, raid the portal for he got a quarterback, but and one that nobody in a million years would have bet was going to win a Heisman.
No.
But he got key players that fit his system, and he filled needs right on his roster. He retained the people on his roster he wanted to. He filled the needs where he needed to, and then he put together. And he was like, "Hey, but here's the catch: like, you're going to come here and play, but you're going to play my way." And he, it's the coaches that draw the line in the sand and run a tighter ship are the ones that are going to be successful, because it's shown that even though the portal era is madness, like, it's not everything, man. The portal isn't everything, and Kirk Scinetti just blew up the entire discussion.
Well, and if you want a clear example of the portal not being everything, just look at what happened at Colorado.
Yep.
You invested heavily in the portal, and it didn't exactly pan out for you. It at all. So at the end of the day, you need to have that head guy and the guy that understands the direction the program needs to move, which I think Texas A&M absolutely has. You have taken Mike Elko, who has been largely regarded as a rising coach in college football by many. You brought him in here, and within a couple of seasons, you're right there in that same position. You had a shot. Unfortunately, in the first round, you ran into the team that ended up making it all the way to the title game. So, hang that hat however you feel the need to hang it, but the reality is you still lose that game. You still get – but you now know what you need to do. You have to prepare for 2 seasons, essentially. You have to have that college football regular season on lock and be ready to put out the grind to get through that playoff, which is something Indiana obviously understood how to do, and Miami as well.
Yeah, and you talk about Signetti coming off the Saban tree, and that's part of it, man. He took whatever parts of how Saban ran a program and basically just implemented it, right? Yeah. And obviously, ran through the ranks, came from James Madison to Indiana, which at the time was a terrible job, quite frankly. But he turns the program. It's so fascinating going from 3-9 to a national championship in 2 years. Like, that's just
impressive.
It's completely bonkers. Like, that's the whole Hollywood can't write some of these scripts, right?
Literally, somebody was saying, like, I feel like I'm playing in some kids road to glory. Coaching on NCAA 25, 26. I'm sitting here living this kid's fantasy in real life. It's like, you take a program like Indiana and make them an undefeated national title contender in 2 years. Like, shut up. That doesn't happen. It clearly does.
Some 9-year-old in Bloomington.
Yeah, some 9-year-old in Bloomington just out here living that kid's fantasy right now.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'll tell you what, it was a fun game too.
It was. And as have been most of these games. Obviously, Indiana did everything that they needed to do in their games as far as their early rounds, taking care of their business. But overall, the playoff, I thought, was very competitive in the games that it needed to be. And there were some fun games in and along the way. Unfortunately, Oregon just wasn't on par with Indiana. Ole Miss and Georgia both had great games. Miami was extremely competitive. The problem was you just ended up having to run into the buzzsaw that became Indiana over the course of this season. Tough team.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought the playoffs. I think they were fun. Outside of the James Madison and um, no, who was the other team that got in? Goodness gracious,
Oh man, Tulane.
Tulane.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of them being picked, and that's and that kind of leads me into another point talking about expansion. You
Right.
touched on.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, like these now being in the expanded playoff field. Um, This is a really weird situation to me where the Big Ten is really like trying to put their foot down that they want 24, and the SEC is putting their foot down and saying no more than
No
16.
more 16. Yeah.
I think 24 is a terrible idea. I mean, let's be completely honest with ourselves. This is like if you wanted to expand basketball to 120 teams, like do you have 120 teams that can like legitimately win? I mean, maybe in basketball because you can get hot, but in football it's just way different. But we've talked about this a ton. I don't like the buys.
No.
Um, you know, you get to be number one seed and your fans don't get a game.
Yeah.
Like that's just so dumb to me. But I'm all about 16 playing the first round on campuses. Nobody gets a bye.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind the first two rounds being on campus.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
then you get for 16 to 8 so it's your last three games basically your two semifinals and your final like those can be bowl games, right?
Yeah.
And the four major bowls they just rotate between those three, right? There's always going to be one that's just like, hey, you're just the Cotton Bowl this year, right?
Right.
Like you're not part of the college football playoffs. But if they rotate it around like that, and then you get two games on campus and more often than not, I'm sure it'll be the higher seeds. So they earned it to be on campus. So you're telling me like the eight seed deserves a home game, like one more home game in front of their fans, more than the one seed does.
Exactly.
Like I guarantee you they'd rather play a game instead of having to buy. That's tough, man, especially with the way the calendar is. They've got to pull everything forward at least a week.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's what takes place. I think long term, there's two different ways I really foresee the playoff hopefully working in a positive way. One is if you go the 16 team route, and I'm thinking 16, but you have to do straight 16. Give me the top 16 teams.
Yeah.
You know,
No guaranteed P5 crap.
no.
If and there have been years where P5s have been up there. So earn your way into it, man.
Oh yeah, well, your group of 5 teams, absolutely. Any teams. Like we want to get the top 16 teams, just your 1 through 16. If it's a committee that's making the decision on those 16 teams, that's one thing. If you want to go back to truly just, hey, this is the computer says these are the top 16 teams, these are the teams going to the playoff. Totally fine with that thought process too.
Well, and what's funny about that is, think about like go back, 5, 10 years. I mean, what the BCS started in, gosh, 01, 03, somewhere around there.
Before that, because we were in a BCS Bowl in 98.
That's right.
I think it was 98.
And everybody complained about the computer models, right?
Yep.
Okay. It's now 2026. Think about the level of AI and technology we have now
Yeah.
to where we're not sick of it in the old system. We can come up with a new system and we should be able to do it relatively quickly because again,
a true algorithm. Yeah.
And come up with an AI program that specifically has a proper algorithm relative to college football and is able to take everything into account. Right.
Weigh strong road wins. Just weigh everything properly to say these are definitively the top 16 teams in the country.
Yeah, and what you're able to do is, almost like basketball does it. You can put wins and losses into quadrants.
Absolutely, you can, and honestly, should.
And that's how the system. If you did something like that, and you do have you have the AI model, and everybody knows what the algorithm is transparent, right?
Yep.
Because the committee was transparent this year, and then they didn't follow their own transparency rules.
Right.
So because they're humans, right?
Right.
So if you're able to make a model to where you break it into quad 1, 2, 3, and 4, and whether wins or losses, and this computer understands the difference between being home and away, and you're able to look at it at the end of the season as opposed to this guy started at second in the country. Like you got to stop with the rankings. Like if you want to do rankings as the media, like feel free, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's no reason to have a coaches poll. There's no reason to have an AP poll. Like your first rankings can come out, week 6. Halfway through the season, something like that. And then what you have is, but these rankings aren't going to be as fluid as they have been because you're like, oh, they lost, so they're going to drop a couple spots. Well, what if they lost? That was a quad 4 loss. It's going to kill them, right?
As
so
it should.
like if we lost to Samford, right?
Or Now, what we saw with Texas losing to Florida, who was terribly a bad team, like that would hurt you a lot worse than
Yeah.
AP looking at you and saying, well, they kind of turned around, so we're going to give them a nice little bump. No, like take the human element of looking at the helmet off.
And every week, like the rankings can drastically shift and change.
Which it should, because week over week, it's going to look different, as it should. Now, on the other side of the argument, and this is the one I have less support of, was if you do expand to 24, every single conference champion has to be in.
If you look, even expanding to 16 conference championships are gone. They've got to be gone because this calendar is ridiculous, right?
Yes.
Yesterday was the 19th and we played college football. The 19th of January, we played college football, all right?
I mean, the next, we got 2 more rounds of relevant football past this. I mean, really, in the NFL. You only have the semifinals and the championship, and you just now played the college football national championship. I stand on the idea of the national championship taking place like first week of January. However, you can find a way to make that work with the schedule.
However you do it, it needs to be on a Saturday, right?
And so absolutely on a Saturday, yeah.
If you expand to 16, you haven't lengthened the number of weeks, right?
No.
Okay, so same number of weeks. You have the 16 round, you round 8, round 4. So it's 4 weeks, 4 games, right? It's a month.
Yep.
We played Thanksgiving. So you figure the weekend after Thanksgiving, technically, okay? And then the next week, you have Army Navy.
Here's what I'm thinking. You move Army Navy up to what would have been championship weekend.
Yeah, no, it all gets pulled forward. Well, generally, yeah.
So you get 1 week of prep before the playoff. Everybody gets 1 week.
Yeah, give it the week of prep.
Yeah, everybody gets 1 bye week before the
play
playoff.
Army Navy, and then it's the first Saturday in January is when you be playing the championship game.
Absolutely.
And whatever that takes with the NFL, because I mean, think about it. The NFL can still play. It's a Saturday, man. You can have a noon kickoff and you can have a 3 kickoff. And then the college football playoff starts at 7:30. And everybody's happy. The NFL got their 2 games in on Saturday, and they've got Sunday to get in, their other games. And the NFL's farting all over the calendar anyways at this point. They're just throwing darts. They're like, hey, we're going to play a playoff game on a Friday. And you're like,
why?
But there just has to be like this much. There has to be like this much cooperation between the NCAA and the NFL, and it obviously has to be in consort with the with the networks, which is fine. We can figure it out. I mean, the NFL's trying to play on Prime Video anyways, right?
Exactly.
So stick that game over there, and real quick, fast, in a hurry, you're going to find out who gets better ratings.
Yeah.
Put it on Prime and put it up against the national championship on ESPN, and tell me like. And I know that the NFL is king, but you start talking about national championship numbers, it's way different, buddy. But again, there's 3 time slots in a day for football. Okay, so just figure it out. But it should be no later than the first Saturday in January. Get rid of conference championships. Go to 16. Play the first 2 rounds on campus. Like that. Reward home field advantage.
As you should.
And the 4 major bowls rotate between the 3 for the 2 semifinals and the final. So. Once every 4 years, the Rose Bowl is just the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you want to, continue to rotate the national championship game, however you decide you want to rotate it, I understand that. I don't hate the idea of it rotating amongst the other big bowls. Somebody floated the idea of just making, since the Rose Bowl stadium is no longer going to be hosting UCLA, somebody said, what if the Rose Bowl just became the permanent national championship spot? Like, you just go play in Pasadena. That's the goal every year.
Well, I don't hate that, but the Rose Bowl would tell you to screw off.
It would. They wouldn't appreciate that. I mean, they have their associations.
I still think like this, the rotation of 3 amongst the 4.
Sure.
Because that's, again, like you have to look at it from a perspective of you're trying not to ruffle, you're going to ruffle as few feathers as possible, right? Like
right.
That's really the idea behind this. And so you have 8 games versus 4. Yeah. Okay. It's easy because you got what? Orange, cotton, sugar, and rose. Those are the 4 it rotates between. And so every year, one of those is going to be its own bowl game, which is fine. Because that would have made like Texas and Michigan, like they could play in the Cotton Bowl, right?
Exactly. They could play in the Cotton Bowl. And then, Sugar Bowl, that could be who, another SEC team and whoever, like figure out however you want to line those out in the rankings. And of course, that would be slightly low ranked teams too, because that's going to go past the 16 mark. So we're going to talk, teams that are 17, 18, 19, they're going to be looking at those games, which I think is fine. I mean, those are great trips. Those are great trips.
18 team gets to play, in the Orange Bowl this year because it's the Orange Bowl. It's not part of the playoffs. And so I think, and I get that I'm trying to bring logic into an illogical situation because everybody wants, one, their piece of the pie, and two, they want it their way, right? Like everybody's acting like it's Burger King, and it ain't, man. So it's just
nice.
There's got to be some kind of thank you very much, Whopper. But I think because I thought through this, it seems like the most logical thing. You get rid of conference championships, you pull the whole calendar forward. Army Navy still gets its weekend. That gives you a week to prepare for the playoffs, which like an extra week, which I think is totally fair going into the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And then off you go, man. First two rounds at home, then you establish the semifinal and the final locations. You establish those years out, so you're not worried about all of a sudden you have to think about travel accommodations, all this. Everybody knows where they're going.
It's
at least they know where they know where the games are gonna be.
Right.
As soon as you bracket out, if you want to make plans to go to the Orange Bowl because your team's in that part of the bracket, that they're so it's same concept. It's just going to 16 teams, so there's no buys. First two rounds at home, and dude, and what if you're that lower seed and you win? Your fans should be rewarded with a home game.
Yeah, potentially be able to host a home game. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if the bracket falls a certain way and all of a sudden you're the higher seed in the game, hey man, you get a home game.
Well, I mean, just looking back at Texas A&M in 2017, I mean, that was a situation that what happened to us in college baseball. All right, we go into the Houston Regional as a 3 seed and win that thing, and proceed to get to host a super over a 4 seed who ended up winning their regional. I mean, it's not unheard of to happen. Nobody in their right mind thinks Texas A&M should have hosted a super regional in 2017. We were right on the cusp of even making the deal, but that's all that matters, right? Like if you win when it counts, that's what matters the most, and you should be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and stuff like that is going to be so rare. It'll almost never happen because you have to have losses. You have to have matching losses, kind of thing. But
let's say Tulane. 12 seed ends up playing somebody behind them, and all of a sudden you have a playoff, second round in New Orleans at Tulane,
But they will have earned it.
Exactly. And that's cool.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that stuff. And if you're the 1 seed, I think you deserve to get the 16 seed, 100%. Yeah. And it's just, this is simple seeding. It works in basketball. And no matter how much you expand to, there's always going to be somebody left out. There's always going to be people with hurt feelings. But that's just, at some point, you have to stop expansion. And that's where it fascinates me with basketball, because at one point, this was a 32-team tournament. Now it's 64. Well, actually, now it's 68 because we go playing game. So it's just like they continue to expand. And the realization is, teams 67 and 68 are not going to win this. They're just not going to win this. All right. It's great that they're there, but basketball needs to stop expanding. Football needs to expand one more time. And if I'm commissioner for a day, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting it in writing. We're all going to sign on the dotted line. We're all going to be happy, and we're not going to touch it anymore. All right. That's it.
Yep.
Tulane had no chance to win the national championship this year.
No,
right?
Clearly not.
If Tulane had played their way into the top 16 teams, like in our model, then by all means, you're welcome to be there. But you've got to come up with some sort of AI algorithm that can, objectively rank wins and losses, stick them in quadrants. And because beating a team that's ranked number 2 in the country, in September, who ends up being unranked in December, that's not a Q1 win anymore, man.
Right.
It fluctuates with their ranking. So that's kind of how I look at it. It works for basketball. It simplifies a lot. Basketball still has the human element. I think you just take the human element completely out of it. You just let whatever, AI system or computer model, however you want to phrase it or do it, but just try and stick with what basketball does. And it's black and white, man. Because you have 126 teams in FBS, is that right?
133, 134, somewhere in there.
Okay.
A lot of teams.
let's see. Well, just for simple math sakes, let's say we had 100, right?
Sure.
All right, that's 25 in each quadrant because the system can literally do all the math and put you in, you're currently in a quad, you're a quad 2 team. But if you play really well, you can move into quad 1. If you play really crappy, you can move into quad 3 or quad 4 because everything is fluid throughout the season. And the reason we have a lot of complaints at the end of the season with this playoff stuff, and it doesn't matter how many times we expand, we're going to have complaints. But the like the problem is the preseason rankings and the rankings early on. Like those are all an issue. And I just to me it's, and I know that there's an eyeball test in there and I get that, but I'm also a firm believer that in today's day and age, there's somebody out there living in their mom's basement who has 47 degrees in computer engineering and absolutely loves college football.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody out there probably already working on a model.
Yeah. I mean, I was just now I sat down and I typed into Chat GBT. I just went here and said, give me your college football top 25 at the end of the season. And I mean, overall, I don't disagree with the sentiment here. They got us like finishing at 8. They had Texas at 12. And then, the rest of the rankings up the list, I think, are fairly accurate and indicative of what we ended up seeing over the course of the playoff. Alabama getting up ahead of us, in the playoff did not put them ahead of us. They still finished at 9th because they said A&M was probably the better football team, which I would agree based on what we saw.
Yeah. I mean, the rankings came out today too. Like they put us at 8, so that may be pulling data. But
I'm sure, but at the end of the day, just having a consistent line on it, create this proper algorithm, and weigh things the way that they need to be weighed. Like if you're going to go on the road and win at Notre Dame, who is a college football competitor and likely in a 16-team model, 100% in the field, that's going to be viewed as a really good game, and it should be weighted as such. You turn around and beating the pants off of Samford is not going to carry the same amount of weight. It just won't.
Right. And you won't get punished for those. Those are just quad 3 and quad 4. You just can't lose.
Yeah, don't lose those games, and don't look bad in those games either if you can help it.
Yeah. And look, and that's the thing is, we live in a day and age where technology is at such a point where I don't think there's any sort of issue with I don't need the eye test.
Sure.
Right. But, backdoor covers and stuff like that, there are some bad beats, and I understand that, but there aren't enough in one team's season.
Right. I mean, You can sit here and look at a team and look at the flow of a game and sit here and say, well, they were up 3 scores and they ended up cutting it down to 10 points in the final 5 minutes after they stopped trying.
Yeah.
That should be understood. Clearly this team was a lot better than the other one.
And that's the only issue you'll run into in automating it is there probably still is an eye test issue out there. But again, one team isn't going to have eye test problems throughout an entire season. I mean, it would have to be so many data points where, all right, you do bring a committee in, but basically they look at the rankings and that are provided to them by the algorithm. And only if there's an outlier, you're like, but I mean, if you won enough games in the playoffs, there's not really an outlier, man.
There shouldn't be.
It's simple stuff.
Especially if it's 16, right? I mean, in reality, is the 16 and 17 spot. Do either one of them stand a legitimate shot to win the national title, especially if they're going to be playing against number 1 and number 2 out the gate? Not strong, but you still play the game.
Yeah, you still play the game, but it gives the 1 and 2 seeds one, like I said, reward to play at home. It also gives them the ability not to just sit around and grow mold kind of thing.
You don't end up in a situation like we saw again, where the one team, which this year happened to be the one team that won the whole damn thing, one team out of the top 4 ended up surviving that first round.
Yep.
That they had a chance to play in. So taking that away, just making it a level playing field, play straight down the bracket, I think that's great, and I hope that's the way it ends up shaking out.
Yeah, I don't understand the Big Ten's infatuation with 24, but
whatever. Yeah,
we'll be playing college football friggin' spring break.
Pretty close. Pretty darn close. It's gonna be conflicting a bit, but yeah. Needless to say, exciting college football season. Glad we got to be a part of that conversation and create some noise. And excited to see what's coming forward in the future. And I think we've done pretty well in the portal for the most part. A lot of people are saying we have a fairly underrated class compared to other people.
Yeah, been very good in the portal. Very good in the portal. Very good about retaining people as best we could. Gonna have a lot of people declare for the draft, but that's what good teams and good rosters have is people declaring for the draft.
Mhm.
Yeah, but Elko and crew have done really well in the portal. Then it's just do they hit? But again, if you look at who Elko's brought in since the people he brought in to fill holes in the roster, you had no reason not to trust him.
No, I mean, your results speak for themselves. The people you've brought in have all made impacts, and I don't have a doubt that we're going to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So that's the prayer and the hope. Now, little shift, pivot, new sport. Let's talk a little A&M basketball for a minute.
Yeah, 14-4, 4-1 in conference, coming off a really big win in Austin. Really big win, especially coming off a really heartbreaking loss at Tennessee. That Tennessee loss was tough. First of all, the ball was out on Tennessee. That's an egregious reverse. Yeah, it's just an egregious call, especially when you have the review. But you got to make your free throws. So, I mean, you can complain about that one call you want, but Tennessee, it was just tough, man. And that's a real tough place to play. It's one of the harder places in the SEC, if not college basketball, to play. Tennessee fans, they light it up a good bit. But bouncing back on the road, beating Texas, you always love to see that. Finally got, or not finally, but I have two home games this week, one tomorrow, Mississippi State, and then
South Carolina.
What is that? 1, 2, 3, Saturday.
Yeah, South Carolina on Saturday.
South Carolina, 10-8, 1-4 in conference. And Mississippi State did much better. They're 2-3 in conference. But I tell you what, if you had BuckyBall at 14-4, 4-1 in conference, and at the top of the conference before the season started, you should have bought a lottery ticket, buddy.
And not to mention, you're talking about a team. This is the definition of a slapdash basketball team.
Yeah.
Textbook definition of that. I mean, your last major D1 coach hired, you essentially have to take the scraps. And on top of that, you lose what is likely your best player for the season. And you have continued to drive your feet forward in what is likely Bucky's worst team he's going to have. Just talent-wise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and that's not to say anything, bad about the players that are really on the roster.
Not at all.
I mean, they know it too. Like, this was thrown together, man. But you look at it and you realize that if he was able to do this in such a short time, with what I'm going to assume is not the largest NIL budget, then think about what he'll be able to do, when he's got a product he can show people. Like, hey, my system works in the SEC. It's going to work at this level.
Yes.
He's got stats, players. He'll have a product to sell next time, as opposed to a vision. Like, now he can sell a product.
Mm-hmm.
You're 10th in the country in points per game. 13th in assists per game. You're allowing just under 78 points a game. But then, like, you're tied for 114th in rebounds per game because you're short.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a small roster. So I think that's also, something to kind of tip your cap towards Bucky, in the sense that, not only did he have to throw together a roster and get them all to buy into BuckyBall, because BuckyBall is a whole different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now he's having to do it with his best, like his NBA lottery pick, sideline for the year. Mm-hmm. So now he had to redo his entire philosophy and strategy, because now he's having to play small ball. That's all he can do. AG has to play as big as he can, but like now all of a sudden, like, he had to shift again to go into small ball. And I'm sure he had some rotations he understood he was going to work throughout the year, but now this is just kind of the way, man. And even with that now kind of being the new Aggie basketball, you're 4-1 in conference, man. And Tennessee and Texas have some big dudes, man, and you were able to play with them. And play with them. Hell, you beat Texas and damn near beat Tennessee. They took 2 overtimes to get past you. So it's fascinating to see them, especially at a kind of smaller average size, playing small ball, manning up and playing against these bigger teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking ahead, this was really interesting. So I'm sure you follow Luke Evangelist on Twitter. He's been fantastic
Oh, yeah.
keeping all the information up on this basketball team, what they are, how they've developed, and also what their road to the tournament looks like. Their most important thing, they said, we got to obviously protect Reed Arena. That's their big
Yeah.
driving point. They want you, so out of the next couple of games, obviously take State and South Carolina. You win those 2 games, you're doing pretty well on your way. You've got some tough games down the stretch, some tough environments that you're going to be putting yourselves into as this season continues to progress. We are not out of the woods by any means, but you've continually drove your feet, made this team grow. It's been impressive to watch. I'm very happy with Bucky, and his energy has been amazing. I love that he's just fully embraced. The players have embraced that, how important that win was with Texas. I mean, I didn't even realize this. This was our first win in Austin since 2002.
Yeah. No, it's been a long time since we won in Austin. So
That's
it's
crazy.
well, Texas has been a pretty good basketball team.
Historically, yeah.
If you go back to 02, you're talking about some really good Texas basketball teams as well.
Yeah.
But it's part of it kind of feels like Elko, like just kicking down some doors.
Right. And that's really important to continue to do as an athletic department, kick down doors. And that's kind of been the moniker over the past several seasons amongst multiple sports. I mean, just look at obviously what happened with volleyball. You absolutely kicked down the door with volleyball. You went and announced yourself as not just a competitive program within the SEC, but a national contender that ended up winning the whole thing. That's amazing. I'm really happy for them. I pray that we continue to see that with softball. I think that they have everything in front of them to do excellent work, continue to win.
Yeah, softball will be interesting to keep an eye on, just because it's such a pitcher dominant sport.
It is.
Just to see if Sydney, yeah, see if Sydney can step into Emily's role. Because I think the rest of the pieces around it. So softball, it's gonna, I mean, as it normally does, like it's really gonna lay at the feet of the pitchers.
Right.
Baseball, Michael Early understands the assignment. We'll put it that way.
I think he understands the assignment. I'm going to be very curious to see how the season pans.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested. It does sound like, within the building, he's changed the culture a bit. There's not, the buddy crap. It's more like we're the coaches, you're the players. This is how it's going to be. I understand that probably was tough for him last year. With the whole situation, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he thought that was the way to keep the team together. But we obviously saw that was a bad idea. But yeah, it's new hire in soccer. It's just the entire athletic department -1 program is moving in the right direction. So it's and volleyball has officially arrived.
Yeah, volleyball is here. The question is going to be really keep an eye on women's hoops, see how that develops, because if we want to go down that rabbit hole, what we saw in Austin with them was atrocious in the second half.
That contract just needs to expire. Yeah, because we're not going to buy it out, right? Or it's not going to happen. So
no need to.
Yeah, that's the one program, unfortunately, that's not moving the right direction, which is crazy, because if you take out volleyball, that's our last national championship.
It is, yeah. And track and field, but
track and field, right?
Sure.
The big six is kind of what I'm talking about.
Big six, yes.
Yeah.
So you like to see the direction that we're seeing the athletic department move as a whole. I mean, just out the gate, if we're talking the just what we've seen for like Directors Cup stuff, I mean, you've done a lot of good things. We don't necessarily obviously put a lot of weight on that, but it shows the direction of your athletic department. Your athletic department's probably looking at being a top 5, depending on how everything else shakes out over the course of the season, over the course of the year. You're talking about a top 5 athletic department in the country, potentially.
Well, what's funny is, we don't really pay attention to it. If we were competitive, we'd pay attention to it. So that's just one of those things where, a Directors Cup is something. It's hardware.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see everything kind of go in the right direction for, -1 program. So yeah, it'll be interesting to, those, all of a sudden you'll see a lot of Aggies care about those standings if we're near the top. But it does show you the health of your athletic department, at least from a win-loss perspective.
Absolutely.
But I think what makes it special here is, all the stories you hear about, the head coaches having, a great bond and great relationships with each other. We see all the coaches at the other sports all the time. They're very supportive and all of that, plays into all of this of having a successful athletic department is, again, I used the phrase earlier, but everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction, man.
Yeah.
And that's where you start seeing success. And when you start seeing success across programs, that's when you start seeing sustained success,
Yes.
right? Because we're Texas A&M. We're not like a James Madison. Like we're not gonna have success and then get poached, right?
Yeah. Unless it's baseball, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Well,
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
uh,
I have no desire. On another note, one thing I will say, hey, athletic department, good work on dunking Sarge. I think that's a solid addition to the roster.
yeah, that was pretty funny.
I'm just happy to see that good ideas can go the distance. Let's just, you're starting to see good ideas start to perpetuate in the athletic department. Because there was a time, this is honest to God conversation I had with an individual from the athletic department not 5 years ago. They were wanting to basically bury Sarge. They didn't want Sarge anywhere near the athletic department. It was supposed to be Reveille, just the A&M logos, Lone Star logo. This is us. This is our brand identity. This is the direction we're going. Deal with it. That's changed.
It's nice to see the fruits of your labor.
Fruit of my labor. Yeah. Hey, he still lives here. He's not going anywhere.
There you go.
We'll keep him around. That is from my good friend Kara Williams, who is now Kara Sheehan. She just had her wedding this weekend up in Dallas. We went to that. It was a good time. You'll be proud of me. I ended up taking the role of a yell leader for the war hymn that time around because she asked me nicely. She's like, please, can you lead the yell? I'm like, okay, I can do. So I've got a nice video of me standing in the circle, hitting them with it.
There you go.
Times. It was fun. It was good. Fortunately, I'd had previous experience because of the singing cadets. I was part of the Traditions Council, which meant I was one of the yell leaders at that point for the singing cadets. So I knew the moves, made life easy on me. I was like, okay, we can do this.
There you go.
It's been a while.
Well, congratulations to her.
Yes, congratulations to her. Congratulations to Carson. Both of them. That was it was an awesome reception, awesome wedding. Great time to spend with them. So positive things all the way around. I'm getting married in May. Life's good. Alex is moving in.
Yeah, just my daughter ordered a ring this morning.
Woo!
She was pretty happy about it.
Good.
I mean, as we all were.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's so important to get your Aggie golden, when you've gotten to the point where you can put in that order. God, it's a good feeling.
Right.
It's a great feeling. All right.
Yeah.
Had 2 questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So first one from Chill Ag, laying back. He's just a chill guy. We like him.
Very well.
All right. So when are we getting the band together to go to spring training? Surprise, Arizona is nice this time of year. God, I would love to go to spring training sometime. I wouldn't mind splitting time between Arizona and Florida.
Dude, I haven't been to spring training since 90 or 91.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in Florida. We went to the Reds. Plantersville, Florida, something like that.
Yeah.
Where all the strawberries are.
Yeah.
That's what I remember about it the most.
I've always wanted to go do some spring training because it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's laid back. You get to see some young talent that you've never seen, may never see again. But you go in there and you can at least watch the games and see.
The players are more accessible and
yeah.
You get to be in those cool ballparks. Yeah, spring training is good stuff, man.
Yeah, and if you are in that same vein, if you guys are nearby an opportunity to go do it, go check out a minor league game somewhere. I absolutely love going down to Sugarland. Formerly the Skeeters, now the Space Cowboys, but there was the first year when they had gotten acquired by the Astros to become the AAA affiliate. I thought what was really cool was they actually Bregman went and did his rehab assignment there at AAA Sugarland. Yeah. So me and my buddy James, we ended up getting tickets right behind home plate, and we had clean view of Bregman just right there. He's out here just pissing on balls because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But we're watching him play, and of course he's still wearing his Astros helmet and everything else. He's got all his Astros gear, just rocking a Skeeters jersey. I'm like, that's cool.
That's funny.
Yeah. So always appreciate. Yeah, would love to go on a trip out there sometime. Absolutely, chill ag. I would love that trip. Jonna had one for us. Said, dream guests for the RedAss podcast. Yes, this is me totally pushing the case to come hang out again. But she said, I feel like y'all would have fun with Nick Saban. Dream guests for the podcast.
I don't know about Nick Saban. Yeah. I think now that he's loosened up.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Saban would be fun. I think Pat McAfee would be a blast.
Oh my God, I would. That would be hell of a deal.
In that same vein, J.J. Watt, I bet would be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raj from Men in Blazers.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, to get a little soccer talk on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to interview the new soccer coach.
Yeah. New soccer coach would be good. And honestly, looking back, a couple of A&M people I'd love to chat with. RC Slocum.
RC's a great chat.
Love to get RC on for a show. Dat Win.
Yeah.
I would love to have a chat with that. As far as like current football players, I mean, I wouldn't want to mess around too much with their schedules. But if we're going to go down a musical rabbit hole, I'd love to get Robert Earl Keen on.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to get him. Maybe honestly, Granger Smith would be good just because, he's an Aggie who has stepped away from his music career, has been, leaning more into doing church things, which appreciate that. That's really, really cool, especially for the sake of your family. I respect that. But outside of like immediate A&M influences, just people I'd love to talk to, Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters.
I was about to say Corey Taylor.
Well,
he's just so fascinating to me because he's the lead singer at Slipknot. That's what everybody knows him for. But like he goes and plays acoustic sets at the House of Blues in LA, and he's actually a fantastic musician that does more than just scream.
Oh yeah, well his side band Stone Sour is fantastic. They played at Hurricane Harry's back like 2013, 14.
Yeah,
got to see them play here in town. That was amazing. Quick sidebar for all locals: Hurricane Harry's is back, in quotes, coming this spring. If you have not been paying attention, on Northgate at the former site of Shiner Park, Shadow Canyon, that building.
For you old folks, it's the old movie theater.
Old movie theater. Yep. They have actively pushed to get that one going. I'm about it. I'm going to be very curious to see if they actually took the bar out from in front of the stage. Because otherwise that'd be tough for a show.
Well, yeah, they talked about expanding the dance floor, which, it's not a hole in the wall anymore. So I don't know exactly how they're going to do that or where they're going to do it. But if they said they're going to do it, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, well, we'll be mindful of just see what they do with that. Got my fingers crossed. I really do hope that this place ends up being a good spot. I would like to go play there if that happens.
Yeah.
Test drive it. But speaking of music and all that good jazz, we have an album release date for Comancheria. Finally, it is coming out on March 6th, not 1836.
Telling y'all, March 6th, like you need to put that in your calendars, homies. Like I'm not kidding. That song is Mojambo. It's so good. It's just so good.
I've been looking forward to this record being out for a long time. We're gonna do a pretty solid job trying to campaign, push for it, try to get good ads out for it, write-ups, all the little nuances that we need to do to get people's eyeballs on what we're trying to do here. Because the music scene, as we've seen it is really, really a dynamic, changing thing, much like what we've talked about with college football. Teams are finding different avenues to get to the top. Well, a bunch of musicians are finding different avenues to get to the top. Sometimes it's through TikTok, Instagram Reels. Maybe a song gets featured in a show, gets featured in a movie. Just the right influencer gets a hold of the song and makes a big post about it, whatever it needs to be. But we're going to do everything in our power to push this album out and push a lot of what I think are some of the better songs Carson's written recently. Just really exciting stuff. Lots of good storytelling on this record. We'll highlight a lot more on that as we get a little bit closer. So we're well over a month out, still almost 2 months out, but really excited for this record to drop. and really looking forward to you guys hearing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a banger. I'm telling you, because I've heard the songs. Ha.
So we're excited for that. And also, there's a special song that has not been in the other files that you've heard that will be included. That was also recorded around the same time. We just weren't sure if it was going to end up on the record. Carson went ahead and said, "Yeah, we're putting it on the record." So
Send it to me.
I'll send it to you. It's a fun one. I'm excited. Anyway, so that's all out and great and good. Folks, be sure to follow us on our socials. That's gonna be Rob the Slapper 14 at gmail.com. Why am I giving y'all my email? That's stupid. Do not email me for the love of God.
You're asking for cat facts.
Do not email me. So it's gonna be Rob the Slapper on both Instagram and X. Be sure to follow Roy May 15 on X, Roy May Jr. on Instagram, as well as the RedAss Podcast. Be sure to give us a like. Be sure to give us some comments. Subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we're uploading. And just keep up with what we're doing on socials, guys. And feel free to leave likes, comments, all the things.
You can always DM us questions for our next episode.
Yeah, and DM them during the middle of the week. You don't have to wait for us to post. Just shoot us what you got. But yeah, we got some good stuff coming up. Some more basketball talk over the next few weeks. Baseball and softball getting ready to roll here in February. So I'm sure we'll be jumping into those here very soon.
Yep.
So plenty to get excited for. Spring's right around the corner. If you are a local to Texas listening to this podcast and you have not been paying attention to the forecast this weekend is going to be ice cold, and not just ice cold. We're talking ice. It is going to be freezing rain, miserably cold, dangerous roads, potentially. I'm not going to say 2021 because I know a lot of people are going to, oh God, we got to go out and buy stuff. No, just be prepared. Be ready to drip faucets. Be ready to just be smart about what you do with your power. Collect what you need to collect ahead of time. And if you don't need to be driving around this weekend, just be mindful of your travel. Be smart.
Go get firewood now.
Yeah, go get firewood now. Be prepared because it is going to be miserably cold for a few days.
Yep.
So just be mindful of that, guys. Thank y'all so much once again for listening in today. I am Rob White. This is Roy May. We are the RedAss Podcast. Take care. Beat the hell out of Mississippi State. Beat the hell out of South Carolina. And we will see you guys next time. Gig 'em.
Gig 'em.